Welcome to New Business in Later Life, where we prove that it's never too late to pursue your entrepreneurial dreams. You will meet remarkable individuals who launch successful businesses over 50, sharing their stories, challenges, and enthusiasm. Your host, Ildiko, is a former social housing professional, textile designer, and teacher who described herself as a life artist. She is now a property professional, business network host, and facilitator of the Entrepreneurs Club. Subscribe now to hear these inspiring stories every week.
Hi, today my guest is Joanne, whom I've known for a couple of years through my property network. She was a bit unconventional in the interview, if I may say so, from the business point of view, because I found that none of my business-related questions fit her very well. It's because her new business is her absolute passion. Whether you are into woo-woo or not, I hope you enjoyed today's episode with Jo. Jo, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ildiko.
Straight in, please tell us what your newest business is.
So my newest business is Be Amazing.
Could you please tell us how old you were when you set this business
I
up?
was 54.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Cool. So you certainly fit the bill for
Yes.
new business in later life.
Definitely.
Hence inviting you to the show. So would you like to go into some detail and tell us what Be Amazing with Jo is about?
So really, it's mindset mentoring. My goal is just to inspire people. If we just implement a couple of things each day, we can make a dramatic change on the outcome within literally just a couple of months. It's just a business where I'm helping people step out of the comfort zone and be better, really.
Better themselves, yes.
Yeah, and to achieve more success, more abundance, and more anything they want in life, really.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. And this is a practice that I use for definite. But would you be able to share with us any examples where you started to do this that then eventually led you to set up the business?
Yeah, absolutely. So my main business, I've actually been in business for many years as a property investor, and that is and has been for most of my adult life my main business. But from the age of 25, when I was a single parent, running out of money before the month and really struggling, life was pretty depressing, I started to implement these habits, shall we say, which dramatically changed my life. And so I think now that I'm in my 50s and I can see the benefits that they've had on my life, I'd like to share that with other people and let them know if they feel stuck, they can change things. It's simply just making a decision and making a few changes, and you can literally change any situation. So I suppose really the first one for me was leaving my first marriage, or I always call it escaping, which I think is a really good terminology because I really was trapped and I was a shell of myself. And I think I really had to dig deep within to get the courage to make some changes and be brave enough to leave. And then from then on, living for 7 years as a single parent, etc., juggling 3 jobs, I really wanted to have a better life for me and my daughter. And, and I thought this just isn't cutting it, working 3 jobs. And I'm still scraping the barrel at the end of the month and running out of money. And so I thought things need to change. And so I started to really, look into the power of mindset and how to change my life. And,
Did you actually start to read books or listen to anything back at the time? Okay.
So there was one particular book that was very powerful for me. I read it when I was about 25, and it's The Magic of Thinking Big by Napoleon Hill. And that book had a huge impact on my life. And it still does to this day, all these years later. And there was a saying in that book that stuck with me forever: what the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. Yes. And that one sentence had the biggest impact on my life.
Profound.
Yeah, absolutely.
Effect, yes.
And so if I can just give one little golden nugget to a single person that changes their life the same way that book and that sentence did to me, then I feel like I've done my job. So
that's beautiful. So back at 25, how did you notice that this teaching was having an effect on you? What sort of things were starting to happen for you?
Right. So here's a good example. So when I was a single parent, on a really tight budget, I'd get to a point where I'd think, oh, crikey, bills are coming in. I haven't got enough money to pay these bills. What am I going to do? And then I would literally say to myself, the universe has got my back. Something will come in, something will happen, and everything is going to be okay. And literally every single time that it did, something happened. I can't think of any examples now, but things always happened. So it works for me. And then I started to realise that actually, although I was doing that to start with subconsciously, once I started to realise what I was doing, I started to actually do it on purpose. Right. And I literally just decided, right, this is what I want to achieve. You really have to believe that you're going to achieve it and put everything into it and, feel it in your bones, really. And the universe will just send it to you. So I'm a huge believer in manifestation, as you know.
Yes.
I've always lived my whole life since the mid-20s using manifestation. I've always kept it very private at home. My husband knows, my children know, they've all grown up with it. But until last year, I didn't speak openly about it because...
Was there a particular reason for that?
Yeah, I felt that it was a bit woo-woo. People would think I was a little bit crackers. And actually, do you know what? It's worked for me and it works for so many other people. And if you speak to anyone super successful, they all use the same technique. So, I'm like, right, let's just normalise it. Let's just talk about it. Let's just get it out there instead of keeping it behind closed doors.
And at the end of the day, if you find your audience, those people who believe in woo-woo, call it whatever you want, if it's woo-woo or not, they will follow you.
Exactly.
Or they will accept the advice, so they probably have already done some of it themselves.
Yes, definitely.
And people who don't associate with it, they would just turn their back and walk away.
Absolutely.
As they probably would have come across it in their life before.
Definitely.
And have turned their back on it already anyway.
I had a friend ask me one day over dinner, how do you persuade people to think your way? And I'm like, well, I'm not here to persuade people. If people are interested in it, then listen to me. If you're not interested, that's absolutely fine. We're all different, aren't we? I'm not trying to sell this to people that aren't on that wavelength and don't believe in that sort of thing. So, it's of interest to some people, not everybody.
That's really quite interesting to hear that you came across this book at the age of 25. Did somebody recommend it to you, or how did you find the book?
So it's quite interesting. So in my first marriage, we joined something called Amway. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, multi-level marketing.
My goodness, it was huge in Hungary.
It was huge.
Absolutely giant.
And so my
in Hungary,
first husband and I joined Amway. And so that's when I got access to all the motivational books. The meetings I loved, and we worked our way up quite high, to be honest, and we did really well, and I loved that side of it. And so when the marriage broke down, I think he carried on doing it for a while, but because I left the marriage, I left that as well. But the motivational side I continued with throughout my life, and I continued to buy the books and things. And many years later, when I met my now husband on our first date, the very first conversation we had was regarding motivational books. Okay. And it transpired we'd both read all the same books. They'd had huge impacts on our lives. Like, it was an instant connection. So that's really interesting.
Emotionally and intellectually, you were very much on the same level.
Absolutely.
And no wonder you lasted so many decades and you're still just as happy as if you met yesterday.
Absolutely, 24 years in now.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Interesting to learn that you came across these books through business.
Yeah, multi-level marketing, basically, yes.
Because I came across the same books and have read, I listen to audiobooks rather than read them, from Napoleon Hill and Bob Proctor and many others, through business. So 2.5 years ago, I signed up to property training. Yeah. And of course, mindset, baseline, what they teach is that you get your mindset right, and then you build, that's your foundation of your temple of wealth.
Absolutely,
So of course, books are recommended. You get your mindset right, and then you build, that's your foundation of your temple of wealth.
Absolutely,
So of course, books are recommended, and then from those books, you get other recommendations and so on and so forth. So that's how I came across it, and that's the same sort of thing. I just wish I came across it 20 odd years ago.
Yeah,
I think I would be in a different place.
It has such a huge impact on your life. I recommend anyone to pick up a book, especially that Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. Bob Proctor's amazing. Like, there are so many great books out there as well. Reagan Hillier is a more recent one that I've been reading, and I love her books as well.
Reagan
Hillier, have you heard of her?
No, not yet, no.
She's got a book called, I think it's called Change Your Life in 3 Minutes, something like that. It's amazing.
It's like 3 minutes a day, I would imagine, yes. Oh, wouldn't it be wonderful to have a magic one to change our lives in 3 minutes?
Yeah,
But yeah.
she's very inspirational.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll definitely get the details of you afterwards.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So tell me a little bit more about Be Amazing with Jo.
I have a website with many resources.
Okay.
I host online workshops and I co-host retreats. I co-hosted a retreat last May with my colleague Monique Leverington. She's an amazing lady who lives in the Algarve, an Australian lady. She's so knowledgeable in the whole mindfulness world. She's so talented. I'm very grateful to be able to work with her, and we hosted an amazing retreat in May, which was a huge success, and we've got 2 more planned for 2025.
Sounds great. So you've got your website. What sort of resources do you offer to people on there?
Ebooks. I do some email mentoring. I obviously, the retreats and the workshops are all advertised on the website as well.
Would you like to elaborate on the mentoring part of it?
On the mentoring?
Is it courses you offer, or one-to-one mentorship, or
what
sort of programs do you offer?
Yeah, so I am putting a course together, which will be on my website soon. I'd like to get into doing the online courses as well. I think that's amazing. It's an amazing way of spreading the word. Mostly it's just online workshops that I'll advertise, maybe over Zoom.
Sorry, that was the work I was looking for. Yeah. So what about the workshops? Please tell me a little bit more about that.
Okay, so the workshops basically, they're all different ones really, but it's really just maybe an hour long. It's across Zoom, and it's just really teaching people how to implement manifesting and harnessing the law of the universe into their everyday life. I also combine it with some business strategy as well.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, so the retreats really have been a huge focus since we did the one in May. I think that is definitely a big part of what I'm doing now. The retreats are called the Alchemist Retreats, and the reason they're called that is because we alchemize the law of the universe with business strategy. And of course, Monique and I alchemize our combined talents, which are very different from each other, but they work so well together.
What does she do and what do you do within these retreats? What do you offer?
She's very knowledgeable in mindful well-being, and I'm a bit more matter of fact, a bit more factual, business strategies, also combining though my belief in manifestation. Yeah, so it just works well together. So she gets really deep into people's minds. I'm giving them the practical skills to implement things. It just works very, very well. Yeah.
That sounds fascinating. So you had one in May. I'm pretty sure you had one in October as well. I would have loved to have gone along to it, but I already had a number of things booked along the end of September and early October. So yeah, I'm looking forward to being involved in the new year.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you've run a property business for quite a lot of years.
Yes.
And that obviously manifestation has been part of your life for quite a lot of decades.
Yeah.
When did that moment come in your life that, I really need to make the manifestation into a business as well? What triggered you?
With the property business, do you mean?
Either or. Well, obviously the property business has been there for some time.
Yeah.
But this is the new one.
The new business.
What made you think that I want to put it out there?
So I would say I received a digital download from the universe telling me to start speaking out about things and not keeping it within the house.
Okay.
So, yeah.
There was a sign.
There was
a very
definitely
clear sign.
Yeah, absolutely. There was definitely some signs coming to me saying it's time for you to start speaking out. You keep this at home, your children, your husband, you all live by this, and it's an important thing you can share with other people. Anyone that's stuck at the moment in any kind of situation where they feel there's no way out, there is, and it all starts from within.
There is always a way out.
Yeah.
And there are always choices. I mean, there's no such thing that you don't do anything and the world just stops around you.
Yeah,
is there?
Absolutely.
Something always happens, so you can.
It's very easy to feel trapped for people, though, I think, isn't it?
That's true. I mean, you mentioned about your
It's very easy for people to feel trapped, and I think once you dig deep inside and you get the courage, you can change things.
Although you say you this sign came to you, but probably I would imagine it was like a chain of events that led you, or was it a very clear?
It was a very clear message.
Okay.
It was a very clear message, out of the blue, like a bolt. Just hit me.
Wow.
Yeah.
And do you feel that the decades of experience you've got is helping you?
Yes. Basically, it felt that every single thing I've gone through throughout my life has brought me to this point. Every experience, every job that I've had in the past, everything that I've done to this up until last year felt like it was leading up to that point. So yeah, it was
Beautiful.
quite a profound change.
I truly hope that not many people think that this is woo-woo, because I'm totally like
Yeah.
this. So I'm going to an event next week in Dubai.
Yeah.
Because there was
Amazing.
this chain of events, and it was almost like I was saying, like, Facebook is reading my
Yeah.
mind. Never mind Facebook is listening, but it's
Yeah.
reading my mind. And not just Facebook, but I was doing a training session and this, then, the other, and all these little
Yeah.
signs were coming together. And then suddenly this conference popped up. It's like, I've got to go.
Yeah, you just knew you had to go.
Yeah.
It's like a real deep knowing. It's hard to explain. But once you start tuning in to the power of the universe, things do just start to become really quite clear.
Yeah, I need to manifest, because Richard Branson is one of the keynote speakers, and I do adore him. I have read one of his books.
Amazing.
And I think, well, he's an amazing business role model. So although I wasn't able to buy the VIP ticket at this stage in my life, but I did buy the business one.
Oh, fantastic.
But I need to manifest meeting him somehow.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
But, yeah.
Believe in it. Truly believe in it, and it will happen.
That's one of my life targets, to be invited to Necker Island by Richard Branson.
How amazing would that be?
So I'm working on being an advocate for the older generation in business.
Amazing.
And I'll make that happen.
Well, you're already doing an amazing job, so you're well on the road to that, aren't you?
Absolutely. Thoroughly enjoying interviewing people for this podcast. So yes.
Brilliant. Well done.
Manifesting it all. So although you had a very, very clear sign, as you say, but what makes you feel that now was the perfect time to launch this manifestation business?
I think once I had the sign and I knew I had to start speaking out, I just started doing it, and I'm just navigating my way at the moment. I didn't sort of sit down and put a business plan together and say, this is what I'm going to do. I received a message and I started speaking out about it. So I'm just being guided at the moment, and I feel that the retreats are definitely the way to be going. They definitely align with what I'm trying to do. You can get a group of people together. It's so special, and the impact that it had on the clients was amazing.
I can only imagine that the energy with those people who were there because they wanted to be there.
Absolutely.
And then the focus that they would put in, and then the support that they received from you and Monique.
Exactly. There was so many amazing breakthroughs, people, overcoming limiting beliefs, which we all suffer from. And, once you start to realise what's stopping you and what your limiting beliefs are, and you start to look at it maybe from a third person perspective, and you start to watch your thought processes, you can really understand how to flip things on their head and how to change things and how to change these thought habits that you've got. Once you start doing that, it's incredible. The implications in your 3D start to change and opportunities start to come your way. It is really quite magical. We had one lady on the retreat who had come with an open mind. She didn't really think it was her thing, and she came with a friend to support her friend, and she absolutely loved every second of it, and she's completely converted and bringing other people on the next one. Yeah, absolutely, yes.
Well, isn't it funny that those who are maybe just a little slightly cynical, or I'll just come along, just see what it's like, they are the ones who have the biggest breakthrough.
Absolutely.
But I suppose because to them, those who believe in it already,
we're already halfway there, aren't we? Yeah, definitely.
This business is all about manifestation and having a better life and having better things and feeling better in yourself and your business. What sort of destination or journey do you see this business taking you and people around you?
Well, I'd like to impact as many people as possible. So long as I can reach people and get the message out there, that's really all that matters. I don't really have any targets, reach X amount of people at that date. I'm literally rolling with it. And I totally live by the saying, I attract, I don't chase. Therefore, that is my mantra. And I literally am just doing what I feel I'm supposed to be doing. And the universe will send me on the journey that I'm meant to be on. I'm just completely trusting in that right now.
Yeah.
So as in being in business before, where you would be doing your forward forecast, etc., etc.
Yes.
I'm not really doing that with this because it started off, I say, as a bit of a hobby. I wouldn't really call it a hobby because it's so powerful and so important to other people. I'm very fortunate to already be financially free. I spend my time between England and Portugal. I travel when I want to travel. And so I'm very mindful not to tie myself down to another job when I've already achieved financial freedom effectively. So I'm just going with the flow, and I'm just taking the messages, doing what I'm supposed to be doing, what I feel I'm supposed to be doing, and helping people. I foresee the retreats getting more often and maybe much bigger. Although it's really important to have a fairly small group because you get that connection then. So it's just, keeping that balance.
Yeah.
So
there was this lovely image that popped to my mind when you said that you are just rolling with it, that you are the tree and then you're waiting for the butterflies to
absolutely,
land
that's
on you.
exactly what I'm doing with this business. It's probably very different to everyone else that you might interview because, as I said, I don't want to create myself another job and put myself under stress to hit targets and things like that. I've done all that in the past.
However, the message I'm getting out of that despite you doing it on a hobby kind of basis, although it is a business, because obviously
of course.
You charge for your courses,
Absolutely,
your workshops, and you charge for the retreat, and you're working together with someone, so there is a business structure,
Absolutely,
there is a joint venture, there's all sorts of business areas to it.
Yeah.
But by the sound of it, your difficulty is to not let it rule your life.
That's exactly it. So that is at the forefront of my mind with everything that I'm doing because it's so exciting and so exhilarating. It would be very easy just to get carried away with it and then suddenly in 12 months think, oh, crikey, now I'm tied to times. And whereas at the moment, I'm very fortunate to be quite free. Yeah.
It's very different indeed, as you say, compared to other people I've interviewed, because I'm able to ask very sort of business-orientated questions, and this is a lot more free-flowing, this business. So you run your workshops. Are they do you teach people to manifest or?
Yeah, really the workshops focus on overcoming belief blockers, changing your thought processes, changing your neuro pathways, which, we can all do. Yeah, when we're babies and we learn to walk, we create the neural pathways for that. The same riding a bike, driving a car. We can change these pathways at any point in our lives. So it's just a case of understanding and implementing new habits to actually start those new pathways to form. Yeah. So it's just teaching people to think a different way, I guess, and to put themselves out there and to believe in themselves.
How do you bring in your business experiences? Because you mentioned that you do business coaching or sort of build in the business coaching as well. So is that based entirely on your actual experience, or is that something that you study and then bring in structured?
No, purely from experience. Everything is purely from my past experience. Any business knowledge that I have from my property business, I can implement into goal setting and all that type of thing, because that is important.
You've already achieved the success with that.
Yeah,
it's good to pass on that knowledge, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Wonderful.
It is definitely
wonderful. So, do you have any business idol or manifestation idol or somebody you really look up to?
I have a few actually. So I love Mel Robbins. Mel Robbins is incredible. And Reagan Hillier, who I mentioned earlier.
Would you like to elaborate a little bit on either any of these people?
I think they're just maybe living in the same thought processes as me. And so I connect with them and I understand them, but they're obviously very, very successful in that field.
Yes.
So yeah, I aspire to, you know, perhaps just to, if I can be a little bit like them, then that's amazing. So,
Oh, wonderful, yeah.
Yeah.
And then hopefully one day we will find ourselves completely like them.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, it's the financial freedom, isn't it? I'm not giving that up for anything. So,
Well, the financial freedom, and never mind that, it's the time freedom, isn't it?
well, this is the thing. It's the time freedom and the financial freedom. Yeah, absolutely. So, it's a huge factor in the background there. So,
Because I imagine the financial freedom you've achieved from property, and that's sticking along, that business is there and in existence.
absolutely.
But yeah, as you mentioned, that you don't want to bog yourself down with a job.
Mm-hmm.
So keeping that time freedom
Yeah.
is super important as well.
I could give you a really good example of one of the main manifestations that I did many years ago, if you like. When I met my now husband, my second husband, I'd been a single parent for a number of years, and I was working 3 jobs, working really hard, juggling being a single mum, and I desperately wanted to buy my own house for me and my daughter. I had a house with my first husband, but as I left, I didn't have the energy to fight him for half of that, so I literally handed everything to him. So I was wanting to start again by myself. Anyway, a few years later, I meet my now husband. It's very early in the relationship. We're dating, very casual. None of us are really interested in a serious relationship. However, we were there one Sunday morning looking through the property newspaper because he already was a property investor.
Yes.
And back then we had actual newspapers with properties for sale in. Do you remember those days?
Yes.
And so, you know, we were sort of looking and chatting, and he said to me, you know, I was in rented at the time, and he said, do you have any plans for the future? And I said to him, it's funny you should ask, actually, I actually do have a 5-year plan to buy my own house. And so he was quite excited about this, and he went, oh, this is interesting, tell me more. So I said, well, I can show you it if you like. So I actually had a mood board and everything, and it was all on the inside of my wardrobe door. I had lovely pictures of tiny little 2-up, 2-down houses, picket fences. I had a plan all written out. The plan was basically to work as many jobs as I could, save as much money as I could over 5 years to get a deposit together to buy a little house for us. Anyway, he was duly impressed by this, and he said, you know, this is incredible, but can I ask you, how is your plan going? How is your 5-year plan going so far? I was barely a year into it, and I said, well, actually, it's not going very well because I never seem to have any spare money at the end of the month, even though I'm working 3 jobs. So he said, why don't we go and look at some show homes today? Well, back then I had very little confidence, and I definitely wouldn't have looked at show homes unless I knew I was in a position to move forward with one. So the fact that he already had a couple of properties under his belt, and you know, to me, he was an experienced investor. I was happy to tag along. So I said, oh yeah, that would be amazing. That would be really good fun. So we went and looked at some show homes near where I lived, and there were 2 plots left, and there was one, and I loved the kitchen in it, and I was just so excited. And he said to me, I think you should buy this house today. And I said, well, no, I can't. I don't have a deposit. You know, I don't. And he said, I will lend you the deposit and you can pay me back once you've got the house, which is amazing because this was not a serious relationship at all.
But you already established that immediately as you met, you were
we had that
completely on
connection.
the same wavelength.
We were.
So I think when you know,
the universe sent him to me. I manifested that man into my life, and I manifested him so that he could help me buy my first house.
There you go.
That's what I believe to this day, and I believed that at the time as well. And he said to me, I've worked out the figures, because, you know, as a property investor, the figures are everything.
Yes.
I've worked out the figures. You can buy this house. You could even take out a personal loan to pay me back, and the payments on that combined with the mortgage will still be similar to what you're paying in rent, but you will own your own house. Yes. So he literally just crunched those numbers.
Revolutionary to show you those kind of
I would never
facts.
I would have never thought outside the box like that. I'm just thinking normal old school. You save your deposit, you buy the house. And so he showed me that you could think outside the box and you can come in from a whole different angle and achieve something. Yes. And so my 5-year plan came to fruition 4 years early because I believe that I manifested him into my life. He's incredible, as you know him, in so many ways, and so I'm very, very lucky to have him. But
well, he's certainly a very inspirational person, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah,
indeed.
he is, definitely. And so I think as well, he's taught me so much about thinking outside the box, never accepting defeat. There's always another angle to come in at. And so there's so many lessons he's taught me over the years that, I think it's really nice to pass that on to other people as well.
What's interesting is that you said that you were already in a business with your ex-husband in Amway, yet you say that you didn't think that you could think outside the box, but you were already thinking outside the box. You were already doing...
It was already there for sure, under the surface. It was just many years of living in a difficult situation and then becoming a single parent and just, fighting. It was just me and my daughter against the world. You're just on that sort of hamster wheel where you're just trying to get by, and then you get into a habit of not really thinking outside the box.
Yeah,
so
it's kind of society's rules, isn't it?
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
You have to get by.
So it was definitely very liberating meeting him and getting back onto that sort of wavelength of thinking differently.
Yes.
And so once I achieved that first house, that was amazing. And we still didn't think that we would be together long term, but obviously we ended up together.
Certainly, stood the test of time without a shadow of a doubt.
Absolutely have, yeah.
Absolutely. So you were in Amway, then you've done property, now you're doing manifesting. So basically you've been self-employed pretty much all through your life?
I have. I also, when I was younger, was a hairdresser, and I had my own hairdressing salon, which I started from an empty shop that I painted on weekends and built up to a really large business that I sold after my third child was born. So I have been in business all my life, actually.
That's quite an unusual situation to be in. So what was your inspiration back at that young age to set up your own business and be self-employed?
It was back when I was a single parent, and the inspiration was to try and get ahead in life. And I knew that working in a job, there was a limit on what I could earn. Whereas if I felt I started my own salon, I could build up, get multiple salons. And I just knew that I had to work for myself. So I started the business then, the hairdressing salon.
Either back then or now. So what do you consider to be the sort of the most advantages to being self-employed?
Wow. There are so many.
Go for it.
There are so many benefits, aren't there? I mean, you're never going to get wealthy working for somebody else.
That's true.
You're ultimately always lining somebody else's pocket, aren't you? No matter how much of a high earner, no matter what you're earning, there's somebody above you making more money. Yeah. So that's the difference of being employed. If you are self-employed, then the world's your oyster. What you achieve is down to what you put in and what you believe you can achieve. So it's limitless, really.
Yeah, there's a huge amount of truth in that. Absolutely. Yeah. In the everyday life, as you say, you can achieve whatever you want, but you still need to put the work in. So what is your magic formula for getting work done in your business, whether that's the property or the
I think it's important to set goals as well, small goals. I mean, obviously there are, my goal at the moment is to host 2 retreats next year.
Yes.
And run a few workshops alongside that as well, as and when I can. And so that's my goal for next year. But I haven't, with this business particularly, I haven't then got a bigger plan and a 5-year plan, because I'm 56 next week. So at some point I would like to actually retire. But your life's just easy anyway. This is a business I just want to do more on a casual basis. This is about other people. This isn't about me.
I was saying, will you ever retire?
Not completely. And even as a retired person, I'm more than happy to host a few retreats a year. It's just so
absolutely.
amazing.
Why not?
It's so amazing. And so much fun as well.
Was organising the retreats difficult and sort of trying on you?
No.
Or is it something that you've done before, organising events?
Yes, I've organised events before in the past. I used to organise charity events. Okay. A few years ago, just to raise money for cancer research. I lost somebody dear to me, so we lost a couple of people actually. My husband lost a very dear friend as well, and so we just decided to host some big events and just do some charity events and bring in some money for charity. So
That's given you the experience to
absolutely.
organise,
And my colleague Monique, she's run retreats all over the world, so she's very knowledgeable.
Okay.
It all ran very smoothly. It wasn't challenging at all. The retreat itself was it just felt right. We worked together so well.
And was it just the two of you organising it, or did you bring in an external person?
Just the two of us. So
Fair play to you.
Yeah. So we pretty much organised everything ourselves, and it was amazing. Yeah. So next year we are looking at a retreat in Cornwall, a place called Earth Retreats. Have you heard of them?
No, not yet.
It's an incredible location just across the Tamar River near St Germans. We are actually getting together tomorrow to secure dates on that, but we're looking at maybe July. I think it will be July 2025. And then we will also do one in Portugal again, because that works so well last year, last October.
Yeah. About 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, that works so well. So we're doing that one again next October.
Okay.
Yeah.
I suppose October is a really nice kind of warm time.
October's perfect in the Algarve.
The heat of the summer, yeah.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Lovely
The
and
weather was
warm.
ideal, so it was really idyllic there. It was wonderful. Yeah.
So is that the plan, to kind of alternate between the UK and Portugal?
Yeah, definitely, and all over Europe. So this next year it'll be UK and Portugal. The year after, possibly we'll choose another, maybe Santorini. We'd love to do Santorini, so we'll choose somewhere different, probably.
I was actually going to say Italy.
Yeah.
We went to Italy for a month-long road trip a couple of years back, and oh my goodness, it's amazing.
Stunning, isn't it?
Oh, it's a beautiful country.
There's so many stunning places in Europe and beyond, so we'll definitely choose some other places.
I mean, I always say,
absolutely.
when driving back to Plymouth, it's kind of like, I know it's the back of beyond, and mind you, Penzance is yet another 80 miles further, but I always feel like, oh, it's such a beautiful part of the world to come home to.
It really is. And the location of the Earth Retreat is stunning. It's on the waterfront. It's like a huge medieval barn. It's just magical. So it's going to be something really special.
It's been to the Port Eliot estate a few times.
It's
for various,
it's very, very close to
festivals.
Port Eliot. Very close. Very similar as well, type of thing. Very close to there.
Beautiful.
So, yeah.
Cool.
So that's exciting.
Let's talk about difficulties as well, because there are always difficulties. Have you had any challenges when you were trying to set up this business? Or have you experienced any challenges along the way since you started it?
No, none. None.
Wouldn't we all love to hear that?
And if I did, I never see them as challenges. They're just learning curves and something to grow from. So no challenges whatsoever. Everything.
Okay, talk about learning curves then.
Yeah, let's talk about learning curves. Challenges, we all have challenges. Life is like that, isn't it?
Yeah. It's the attitude, isn't it? How we look at
exactly,
it. Like, yeah, but the problem is, but this, or you can say like, okay, there's this, but how do we get over it?
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. You just find a way around, over, through. There's always a way.
A little bit more difficult than other things, because obviously you say you manifest things, which is fine, and it could be we or not, but there must be certain things that are just a little bit more difficult than others.
We haven't found anything so far.
Fair enough.
With this business,
I'll leave it at that.
Everything's just. I believe that this is what I'm meant to be doing, and therefore, as I said before, I attract. I don't chase. So therefore, I'm just
allowing
anything that's possibly come along that may have been a challenge is just maybe redirecting me slightly different. I've not seen anything as a challenge. I'm just like, okay, we'll go this way or whatever. I'm just going with it.
Mindset-wise, it comes across to me that's a beautiful place to be.
Yes. It is. So people do often ask me though, don't you ever have down days? Don't you ever feel negative or just miserable? And yeah, of course I do. Everybody does. We all get days like that, especially when we're menopausal. These things happen.
Let's not open that can of worms.
Yeah, whole different subject there. But you know what? I think the secret is not to wallow in it for too long.
Yeah.
Acknowledge it and feel it at the time, but then straighten up your crown and dust yourself off and say, right, that's it now. Time to get positive again and move on.
Since I've been having a regular routine, and that includes meditation as well, I do exactly that.
Yes.
I acknowledge it. Okay, it's one of those days. and then sort of talk myself out of it, that I don't have to allow it to bog me down or keep me down, just move on. And whatever I do is still something that's done rather than not done.
Yeah.
And then the next day is a new day. And
Absolutely.
hopefully sleep a little bit more, or the sun will shine a little bit more, and just be that little bit happier.
Definitely. Get yourself back on that high vibrational frequency again, because we're all sending out a frequency into the universe, and what we send out we attract back, don't we? So, you know, if you're sending out doom and gloom, and you know, you're moaning and nothing ever goes right for me, and you know, I always have bad luck, then that's what the universe will give you. And so you've got to stop saying those things to yourself. You have to say, I attract, I don't chase, the universe has my back, you know, success, I'm worthy of success, success is coming to me, all these positive things, And people often ask me, when do you manifest? In the evening, in the morning, etc., etc. It's really a way of life. It's a constant thing. It's not just, you don't necessarily set aside time, although it is good if you're learning to change your mindset. It's good to set aside some time for positive affirmations, to to intentionally change your thoughts. But once you are living that way, it's constant. It's just the way you think. It's the way you live. It's not something you sit down and do.
Kind of. I mean, I've come across all of this about 2.5 years ago, as I said, sort of from the start of my property training. One of the courses is mindset. And then, of course, I started reading and listening to books and implementing various things in my life. But this particular thing, what I'm finding still sort of 2.5 years on, and especially sort of the last year probably, I notice when I say something in a negative way, or like, you know, as we are used to kind of just complaining and just say as it is. I notice when I say something like that, and I then say it out loud, rewording it in a positive way.
Perfect.
So that way, and it's kind of literally all the time. And that way I'm kind of educating myself day in, day out to just come out with the positive.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is really what I teach at the workshops, exactly that. Because once you've gone through that and you've learnt to do that, it just becomes habit then.
And it's the way you are.
It's just the way you are once you've gone through that process. And it does take time. It doesn't happen overnight. But
especially as the world is influencing us all the time. And it's like, I don't know how you are with television, but fortunately, we don't watch telly, not mainstream telly. I don't really keep up to date with the news. My husband does the filtering for me and just gives me the most important bits.
Exactly.
But whenever I come across the news, it's nothing but doom and gloom. And it's like, I don't have space for that in my life.
No. And it's so detrimental as well to our thinking. And, you know, it's like you say, there's so much doom and gloom. If you need to know the important things, then
I want to live a happy life.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I'm going to create that happy life for myself.
Yeah, some people watch the news several times a day and it's the same thing on repeat, isn't it? It's just so depressing. I can't imagine that. But no, I don't really watch mainstream TV. The odd movie, that's it really.
Yeah. Well, like the way, you know, like we mentioned, is this woo-woo, or some people call it woo-woo, but the way I sort of very simply explain it to people is that very well-known metaphor that, you know, when you want to buy, I don't know, a red Vauxhall Corsa, all you're going to see from that point onwards is a red Vauxhall Corsa. And I think this explanation just really
and this is the way the universe works with opportunity. Once your mind is open, like, you will see opportunity around every single corner.
And when you focus on that one thing, then that's the only thing you will see, and then you will go towards that, and the universe will send it your way.
That's right. Yeah, you align. So that's exactly it.
So anyone who thinks woo-woo, think red Vauxhall Corsa.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's one of the universal laws, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's just
absolutely.
It's there whether people believe it or not.
Do you have a routine of any kind to keep that mind? I mean, I know you said already that you sort of the manifestation part.
Reading,
all sorts,
podcasts, just filling my mind with positive things and not the news and things like that. Yeah.
But do you do anything in particular to appeal to all areas, like your physical, mental, intellectual and spiritual side? Do you have like a daily routine?
I'd like to say yes, but no, I don't really. I like to read before bed. I think that's an important time. I also like to do a bit of meditation before bed. That's probably the only routine I have daily.
I have a morning routine. I do the other. Funny thing is, I used to be like this horrible person, like, oh, don't talk to me till 10 o'clock sort of thing. And then I started implementing a routine through doing a sort of like, again, learning. Like I listen to an American guy called Darren Hardy every morning, little 5-minute business snippets. I don't know if you've come across him before.
I've heard of the name, but
And quite early on, he said, have a morning routine. It doesn't matter how long it lasts, and it could be just a couple of minutes each, but appeal to your physical, mental, spiritual, and intellectual side. So I started implementing a morning routine, and it's been absolutely revolutionary for me.
Has it? See, this is fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's really changed how you're feeling in the morning. And that's the
mentally,
start to your day, isn't it?
And emotionally and everything.
Yeah.
And it's grown quite a lot. So it's a solid 2 hours now.
Really? Wow.
Because I do so many things.
And what does it consist of, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, that's fine. So first of all, I have a glass of lemon water. So I squeeze out a fresh lemon or lime, drink that with some water, make a green tea, go and do 20-minute exercise, have a minimum 3-minute cold shower. Yeah. Now the cold shower, my goodness, I know a lot of people like
3 minutes is a long time.
Well, I started with half a minute. Then it's just horrific, absolutely horrendous. Then once I started to grow the time, the first minute is really hard.
Yes.
So getting into the bath and turning it on is super hard. Still, like a year and a bit on. But the second minute, it gets better. So by then I can actually breathe and start to think and start doing gratitude.
Yes.
And then the third minute is fantastic. So by then the water is not cold. It actually feels kind of hot, you know, when you go into the sea and it sort of starts to burn your skin.
Yeah.
And then I do a lot of gratitude for myself, for my body, for my environment, for my work, for people around me, whatever
Such an amazing routine. Yeah.
And then the more gratitude I do, the more I forget about the time. And often I reach nearly 4 minutes and I don't really feel it. But then when I turn the water off, that's when the magic really happens as well. Because my skin, every bit of me is just buzzing.
Yeah.
And that is fantastic. But the determination to do that has had an absolute profound effect on my business life and how I look at business and how I work.
Yeah.
And then afterwards I have my green tea and do meditation and have a healthy breakfast and listen to Darren.
Yeah.
Darren's little Darren Daily. So that's my full morning routine.
Yeah, that's amazing. And gratitude you touched on as well, which is huge. It's such a huge benefit to life, practicing gratitude, isn't it? And it's a huge part of my life as well, like being grateful.
It's kind of like almost every minute of the day I smile when I can. As soon as I notice that I don't smile, I do. You're a very smiley person as well, and just constantly be grateful for everything that's happening around me.
Yeah,
and it's
so
just
powerful.
Such a beautiful place to be.
It really is.
And I know, when I go to networking events, people say to me like, "Oh, you are so relaxed and composed and things," and I genuinely think that that's down to the gratitude, and the positive mindset.
The mindset, of course, it's so important.
Wonderful. Anyway, so let's go back to you.
That's okay. No, that's nice. It's nice to hear.
So you started to talk about people who inspire you. So you mentioned
Mel Robbins, Reagan Hillier.
Is Mel Robbins an author?
Have you not heard of Mel Robbins? She does a podcast.
Okay.
Yeah. She's a motivational speaker, podcast host, and she's super positive. And she implements something called the high five habit. Have you heard of that?
No.
This is a really good one to do in the morning if you're learning to become more grateful and everything, and you're learning to step into your higher self, as I like to call it.
Yeah.
So the high five habit is, if you think about when you high five someone, it's full of positivity, and it says to your brain, success, happiness, somebody's achieved something,
support,
right? Yeah. So when you get up in the morning, look at yourself in the mirror and high five yourself, and give yourself a little pep talk, whatever you feel you want to work on and improve, and then high five yourself in the mirror and start your day that way. It's so powerful. I do that. I do that often.
I kind of
actually.
do something similar. I
Yeah.
talk to myself in the mirror and,
Yeah.
and talk positive things to
Yeah,
myself in the
absolutely.
mirror. So yeah, a little version of that.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's such a powerful technique as well. So
Yeah,
she's full of
really
wisdom. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's amazing.
And then the next person was
Reagan Hillier.
Yeah.
She runs retreats. I would like to create the type of retreats that I would like to attend. And so I'm taking bits from retreats that I see around the world, and sort of together with Monique, we're then creating that.
Your own
And
identity.
we're very much aligned in what we want from a retreat. So there's definitely no clashes there. So that works
lovely.
really
That's
well. Yeah.
I mean, it's like when I was doing my design degree a few years back, we were told that there's nothing new. Everything's been done.
Yeah.
It's how you interpret it.
Yes.
So you take things from others
Yes.
and teachings and you research
Yeah.
and you look into it and you make it your own
Yeah.
and give it back to the world.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
Were there any other people that you aspire to or who inspire you?
Yeah, well, I love Tony Robbins, obviously, like everyone does. He's always been my idol, right from when I was in my early 20s.
Okay.
Yeah, he's incredible, isn't he?
I must admit, I haven't actually got around to reading or listening to any of his books, but obviously I've come across his name many times. And I think
Really?
one or two of his
I would
books are in my
definitely-
wish list. But
I would
yeah.
definitely watch some of his YouTube videos.
Okay.
They are so powerful, incredible. Yeah, I mean, he's like, he's up there. The top guy, yeah, definitly.
Yeah, I
It's
have
amazing.
read many motivational and business and mindset books.
Yeah.
Got loads of them. I mean, last year when we were doing a refurb work on a house, I was doing all the painting. So for weeks and weeks, I was just listening to audiobooks. And
Yeah.
some of them I listened to again and again.
Oh,
It's just I
please
haven't got
listen
around
to
to him
Tony
yet.
Robbins. You'll love him. He's amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, so powerful.
So although you said that this business is almost like a little bit of a hobby, but a little bit of a business, but you protecting your time freedom. But if anybody wanted to set up a manifestation or mindset mentoring business, maybe as a full-on business, what sort of advice would you give them?
I would say know your stuff, get the knowledge, qualifications, etc. that you need. And for me, I would probably start small and build up rather than putting a load of money in and then having to recoup that back. Because I think when you start a business, you learn so much in the first year. And that's, I suppose, how I've worked throughout my life with all of my businesses. So that's sort of my way of working.
Taking one step at a time.
Taking one step at a time, create a baby, and then help it grow. And that's what I did with the salons and obviously
That's
with
a
the
really
properties,
sweet
etc.
metaphor.
Yeah. So I think it can get quite overwhelming if you go full on in, throw a load of money at something, and then, you know, you're under a lot of pressure, aren't you, to perform and to recoup some of that back.
Well,
So,
some may feel that, I need the pressure to really
yeah,
put the rocket
absolutely.
up my backside kind of
Yeah,
thing.
definitely. It depends how committed you are, I guess, and how motivated you are.
They will give you plenty of commitment if you invested a lot of money.
Absolutely.
But then again, not necessarily. I've had both in my life.
But with regards to manifestation and manifestation mentoring, you can start off fairly small and just start off helping one person, a couple of people, and then build your clientele if you want to do it that way. It depends which sort of way you want to go with it, I guess.
To wrap up our interview, I think we've sort of established or gone into the depth of manifestation and gratitude and creating a positive life for ourselves.
Absolutely.
So I just have a few little closing questions, as I have to everybody.
Yeah, no problem.
Do you have any regrets for not setting this up earlier in your life?
Yes, I probably do actually, because I feel I could have helped more people earlier in my life, and I was afraid of being judged. And I think maybe this is something that comes with age, where you get to a point where actually you don't really need other people's support. You're just quite happy if people are going to judge you. That's to do with them. That's nothing to do with you.
Yeah, their opinion is their opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't need to affect me in any way whatsoever. Whereas when you're younger, you always want people to like you, and you always try and do things that fit in and align with people so they're going to like you. But I think maturity brings you to a place where you're quite happy to not be liked and think, well, that's fine. Not everyone's going to like me. It's not a problem. That's up to them. So yeah, I would have started it younger, simply to have helped more people. So yeah, that's the answer to that question.
That's sweet. And would you consider setting up another business?
If I was younger, how do I word this? Yes, I don't feel the need to set up another business.
Okay.
And therefore, for me, my whole life has brought me to this business. So for me, this feels like this is the business I'm going to carry on doing into my old age until until I'm no more, because I can see myself doing this once I'm retired, and this is something that I love doing so much. It's a passion, it's not a job. So for that reason, I wouldn't think, I'll set up a new business next year or the year after, because I feel like I've found my life's purpose. However, if I was at a different stage in my life, yes, of course I would set up a new business anytime, any day, any week. It's amazing. Everyone should do it.
Yeah, I think you touched on a very, very important message, that it's almost like a cliche, but it is so important that when you do something you love, it's not work.
I know.
It's a passion.
It absolutely is.
It
doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing, that I found with particularly the retreats as well, and, the workshops. I just love seeing people, get the light bulb moments and change things, and the impact it has on them after as well is just incredible. I love it so much.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Another question I ask everybody is whether you would have any recommendations for any books and podcasts. We obviously touched upon some. Would you like to actually name the podcast and name a book that you would highly recommend to
Mel
people?
Robbins' podcast, that is what it's called. I would highly recommend that one.
Okay, Mel Robbins' podcast.
That's one of my favourites. There's also a lovely lady called Kat Thorne, who has recently started a podcast business, and I love listening to her podcast as well. They're really good.
Any books? Well, obviously Napoleon Hill for any business person. Well, that was
Change Your Life in 3 Minutes as well.
Oh,
that was an amazing one. I definitely would recommend that one by Reagan Hillier. In fact, she's got several books that are really, really good. And they're very easy to read as well. They're not like huge, thick books, so quite easy just to pick up, read a few pages. 7 Habits, I think it's called 7 Habits of Successful People, I think it's called. That's a really good one. I don't retain names of books very well, but Napoleon Hill stuck in my mind forever.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Same with Bob Proctor and Napoleon Hill, indeed.
Yeah, definitely.
Wonderful, thank you. And the final question, is there anybody you would like me to interview for new business in later life? Somebody who started a new business in the later years
I do
of their
have
life?
somebody in mind, although she's not 50 yet. But
Okay.
so is that acceptable or not? Is it for people over 50?
Well, kind of, that was the baseline.
Yeah,
like my
of course.
story is the baseline, although to be honest, I'm kind of in between. So I started the property business a little before, and I started the podcast business after.
Yes.
So yeah, for me, this is the newest business, the podcasting.
Okay. Oh, who else do I know that started a business over 50? Yeah.
How close is she? Well, the whole idea
She's in her late
is that
40s.
The whole idea is that people in their 50s, 60s,
Yes.
70s, even 80s,
Yeah.
so in that later stage of
Yeah.
the life. Well, kind of my story was like on my 50th birthday, people asked, how does it feel being 50? And all I could think of that I feel like I look at life so differently because the end is now in sight. Not that I want to die tomorrow, but I can't change the fact that the end is now in sight. So that has created quite a significant shift in my thinking. And that's the only reason for over 50s.
So there's a chap called Paul Jackson who has recently, Paul and Joe actually, they're a couple, but they, I don't know if you have couples or not, but anyway, get Paul on, he's fantastic. So he's recently gone into property investing.
Okay.
He's definitely in his 50s, but I don't know. He's similar age to me, mid-50s. And he's motoring with it. He's doing so incredibly well.
Okay.
So he's, I think, got 7 properties under his belt in the last couple of months, in the last 6 months, maybe 12 months max. Yeah. So I definitely contact Paul Jackson.
Sounds very inspiring.
Yeah.
If you could put me in touch with him, that would be
I absolutely
wonderful.
will. Yeah. I'll touch base with him and make sure he doesn't mind, and I'll send you his number for sure.
So obviously you will pass me your social media
Yes,
tags and your
I will
website,
do.
and we will put them in the show notes. So if anybody would like to come to you for some manifestation mentoring or do any workshops or even go on your retreat next year, either in the UK or
can visit me at beamazing.co.uk.
People will find the details in the show notes.
All the details will be there,
Jo, thank you so much for joining me.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks, Ildiko.
A huge thank you to Joanne for sharing her spiritual and entrepreneurial journey. I, for one, have become a daily practitioner of meditation and positive affirmations lately, and I feel that it fills my cup every single day. Here at New Business in Later Life, we believe in the power of reinvention and following our passion. If you've been thinking about starting a business, let Jo's example encourage you to trust in yourself and the wisdom that you've gained over the years. Remember, it's never too late to pursue what truly resonates with you. And I hope Jo's stories has inspired you to consider how your personal growth could lead to a fulfilling business venture. And for those interested in Jo's coaching and retreats, please check the show notes for details. Thank you.